adorable little babies in the audience right now. You know what? They cost a lot, okay? I'm not saying you should give them back, but we want to talk about how much your kids are costing you with Bruce Sellery from Money Sense Magazine. Come on in here. How you doing, baby?
Great.
So good to see you. So, you know, we thought we would talk about this not in a negative way.
Yeah.
But it's just a reality that children, as small and cute as they are, can add up when it comes
add
to
up
money.
to a lot.
They can add up to a lot of money.
And I think it's worth prefacing our entire conversation with the fact that for most of us, kids are the best thing we've ever done.
Totally.
And if you took every single penny I have anywhere, take my house, take my car, I would still have made the choice to have a child. It's that important. And you know, sometimes when we talk about the cost, people think, well, it's a should I or shouldn't I have kids? I don't think it's that. I also don't think it's time to say poor me, because for most of us, we chose this, and while the numbers are large, it is not a time to panic. We chose this, but being conscious makes a difference.
We have to be conscious because we have to understand what we might have to sacrifice or not do in order to have this money to raise the kid.
Yes.
So trade-offs is what we're going to talk about a lot, but first I want to hear what, I want to know what the amount is, because you've actually added this up.
Is there wine in there? Because there really should be something. As a matter of fact, here's the number. Money Sense did an exhaustive study figuring out what the average number was, and it is $243,000.
A child.
A child.
From 0 to 18?
From 0 to the end of 18, so the day before their 19th birthday, $243,000. And there's a couple things that aren't in that number. First is the fact that for many parents, income will also decline. So expenses are one thing, but then there's income. I work fewer hours now that I'm a parent. Some parents take maternity leave, paternity leave. They might just choose not to work quite as hard as they did before. It also is an average number, so it doesn't include if, for example, your kid does rep hockey, which can be thousands and thousands of dollars over the course of time. So it depends on your city, but that's kind of the headline number, and if you're shocked by it, it wouldn't surprise me.
Or if your kid is in private school, that number goes up, or, you know, depending on the neighborhood you live in. So this is the average, and I love the fact that, you know, you brought your daughter into the show today.
Yes.
And she's just the sweetest thing. Her name is Abby, and this outfit, a lot of consideration went into it. So the polka dot dress, I feel, was the right choice.
She chose it, and it was a big deal.
Well. The Mary Jane's the whole nine. She's so small. How much does she cost?
Well, so far, based on that calculation, about $48,000.
About 48 grand right there.
And she's 4. So a couple of cars. Now, here's the way to take a metaphorical quaalude, is that's $1,000 a month, which is still significant. But when you think about it on a monthly basis, if your cable's $200 and your kid's $1,000, it's like, okay, that's somewhat less than 243, but it's a big number. Now, the buckets, and there are many buckets that go into that cost. The biggest, childcare. Childcare accounts for 31% of that number. So when your kid is young, that is an enormous cost for most families. And then when they're 12, 13, 14, childcare goes down. Things like food go up, and other iPods and iPads and things that they need. So those costs change over time. But childcare is number one, shelter's number two, which may surprise you because you think, well, you know, I can just keep my kid in the extra bedroom. The fact is that if you have kids, you have a bigger place to live on average than if you didn't. If you were, you know, single or just a couple, you might have a one-bedroom apartment or condo. But as soon as you have a kid, you think, I had this feeling, I don't know if you did, but I had this feeling, I need a yard.
Yeah, I need space.
I need that, which is, it's an emotional feeling rather than a practical one. There are lots of parks out there, but I somehow needed a yard.
Totally. I mean, a lot of us do. We get pregnant and we move to a bigger location. Now, transportation's another one. That's another huge one people do. They go and get a bigger car.
They do.
Because you've got the car seats going on, and you go from one baby to two baby. That's 2 car seats, 3 car seats. That means you need like a minivan or an SUV.
Where's the stroller going to go?
Where's the stroller
I'm now buying $300 at groceries at Costco instead of picking up a pizza on the way home.
Right.
So transportation's a big figure. It's about 16%. Then food, as I mentioned, recreation is about $20,000 over the course of that child's life. So that includes activities, things that you do. Now, this one, here's where you need a grain of salt. There are certain activities that you will no longer do because you're a parent. I think of my own example. You know, there's these things called restaurants. And you can go out to a restaurant just with your spouse. But we don't do that much anymore, right? Whereas when we didn't have kids, we would go out to restaurants, we'd go to movies and plays and have that kind of a life that you just don't have, in particular when your kids are young. So that's an area where costs can decline.
One day Leo and I were calculating when we would go out for a night and we would go eat and then we would go to a club or a bar or a lounge, the amount of money you spend on drinks and food is astronomical, especially if you're in a major city like Toronto. And we don't do that stuff anymore.
No. And on the one night that you do, I don't know if you're like this, but you're looking at the menu and it's not the cost of dessert, it's the incremental cost of the babysitter.
Right.
So you think, okay, if we get home now, we're totally under 4 hours and I won't have to round up.
Right.
Well, you probably wouldn't think about that, but I do.
Yeah, no. You know, when you work on TV, you always round up.
You round up.
Always. They will say things about you, Bruce.
And healthcare is another one, too, because, you know, when a child is sick, there is eczema cream, there's pink eye treatment, there's lice treatment, which is both your sanity and hundreds of dollars. So there are all those things that aren't covered by provincial health care that you need to just have in the home because you have a gorgeous and wonderful child.
That's right. Okay, so prices go up, prices go down. You have to set some priorities in these areas and figure out what's important and what maybe you can let go of.
Very difficult question to set priorities, and it really goes back to values. And sometimes values between a couple are not the same. So it can be quite tricky. It's very, very personal, and it's not necessarily rational. So here's an example. I somehow had to have the best running stroller. I had to have it. It was just not rational, but I had to have it. Abby's everyday stroller was a hand-me-down from my sister. In order to collapse that thing, you basically need to, you know, be MacGyver. There's no other way to do it. I pity the airline attendant who has to collapse it themselves. But that was a priority call that we made based on something that makes no logical sense whatsoever.
So you said, oh, the everyday stroller is not going to be great, but the jogging stroller is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also keep your judgment in check. Keeping Up with the Joneses is one of the places where our baby budget gets magnified because well, Evelyn has a warmer for her bottle, so if her baby wakes up in the middle of the night, it's sitting there right warm, in addition to the wipes warmer that she also has. And I didn't have that. So is Abby going to be a less happy and fulfilled child because I'm not warming her wipes in the night? I hope that wasn't the case, but it was certainly something that you think about, right?
The only one in my mommy group that didn't have that giraffe. That's Sophie.
Sophie the giraffe.
Sophie
Abby
was
didn't have
too
the
much
Sophie.
money, okay?
Oh, I couldn't find her.
Well,
I probably would have paid.
Sold out.
I would have donated a kidney to get Sophie the giraffe.
I was the only one that didn't have Sophie. I'm like, my kid is gnawing on, I don't know, a piece of wood.
I just pull out the slivers.
My sleeve.
It's fine. Your car keys. I do want to point out one other thing that's not included in that $243,000 is education savings. So I spend less on clothing and less on activities because to me, that $200 a month for an RESP is mandatory. No discussion. Period. Full stop.
I agree with you 100% on that one. Well, thanks for Bruce. Everyone in the audience is going to take home a copy of the latest Money Sense magazine. So learn about your money in this one. Best tips ever. Bruce, thank you so much. That's awesome. And Abby is adorable.